Good evening. If you live in today's time, this is approximately May 15th, 2020, then you will know that a pandemic has been occurring throughout the world, not just the United States, not just Texas, not just Houston, but throughout the world. The coronavirus, or COVID-19, is what the virus is called. It has killed people, and it has caused a lot of people to fear going outside without masks, without gloves, and people are staying at least 6 feet away from each other. So this has caused a drastic change in society, and I believe that it will not only be a change after this crisis, but beyond the pandemic. When it's all over, then again people will still be trying to keep a few feet away from each other, wearing masks, wearing gloves. Now, there's been some people who have said that this crisis that originated in Wuhan, China, and then it spread across the world due to the transportation we have in such a globalized world, that where freedom of movement is very quick with the airplanes and cars and trains and boats and all that. So it's spread to every continent, and I'm in the United States, where it has become the most infected country. I'm not the best at numbers, so I'm not going to mention the numbers, but I can tell you that the United States is the most affected country, has the most cases and the most deaths out of such nations like China, where the pandemic originated. And then you got Spain, you got Italy, you got other countries also affected. Iran is one as well. And many nations have had their own responses to this crisis. You have had South Korea not closing everything down, but they've tested everyone forcibly, obligatory, so they can know who's got it and who doesn't. Some nations like Sweden have just mainly let the nation continue without really closing anything down, and about closing things down, because the crisis is seen as so infectious and contagious. They've decided to close down major public places like public plazas or squares, sports stadiums, public parks, public conventions, markets. So a lot of the cities in the world have looked a lot like ghost towns, where you only have like military and police people out there to make sure no one can come out and stuff. Not all the nations have done that, but a lot of them have, and where only people with essential, important jobs, that's what they're calling essential services, like important jobs like doctors and people work at pharmacies, police, military. They're the only ones who could really go around. So that's the path that some nations have taken in this crisis. The United States was sort of a little late to it, as other countries were doing it first, mainly like in Asia, then Europe. Then it spread to the United States, and now we got cases here in the US and Texas. So, and they've decided to shut down a lot of businesses for that reason. This is a divided world, it's a divided society. So I don't want to get too political, but basically it's put people in two sides, basically, this pandemic. One, that people think that businesses and major public places in society should remain closed because that ensures safety while they look for a vaccine, while people donate. They get rich, influential people to help donate to find a vaccine for this. And then people obey these temporary orders from local governments. And on the other side, you have people saying that this is exaggerated, that there are always going to be pandemics. We had AIDS, we had Ebola, we had the Zika virus, but society didn't even close down. They even go back to the Spanish flu, and to, I believe there was a virus in the 70s. I only mention it briefly because it's part of the history, but I don't know much about that. But basically, society did not close down when these things happened. So, and these people are seeing their lifelong jobs being, you know, being declined, closed down, having to fire people, lay off people, and as a result, they're losing their lifelong businesses that they worked from the ground up to create, and this has caused them to not pay, their mortgages, their bills, which are already as high up as they already are. One could say they were already expensive. This was like a problem before the pandemic anyway, but now they don't have much money. It's not like they can barely keep up. They can't keep up at all. So they're the other side that they've, in the U.S. mainly, they've taken the protesting outside courthouses, government buildings, some armed, believing that the government would not let a good crisis go to waste, and basically take away their firearms, which again, another problem before the crisis, before the pandemic. These people don't even want to call this pandemic. They think it's an exaggeration that only old people have been really mortally affected by this. And in a way, that's kind of right. I mean, only old people with previous problems, heart attacks, pneumonia, illness, coughing, those kind of illnesses were the ones that were really getting affected, hospitalized, and dying. And countries like Italy and Spain have a high older population. So yeah, these are like the two sides that are like, okay, we need to keep things closed down, but as we find a vaccine, we can't just rush and make sure that everyone can get back to work, because that can reinfect a lot of people, whereas the others are like, this virus is just an exaggeration. If you're young and healthy or middle-aged and healthy, then you're not going to get problems. If you do have problems, go to the hospital, but that doesn't mean you should shut our businesses down, where we lose our incomes and possibly lose our homes and jobs for longer term. There is no simple answer for this. I can sympathize with a bit of both sides, but yeah, I tend to talk politics, but I'm not going to get too political. I just want to say the basic description of what's going on. And as of these shutdowns in the U.S., at least started around February, March. Well, some states did first nationwide, but now we're in May. It's like some places have been shut down for only 2 months now, and some businesses have been open at 25% capacity in Texas, at least. Movie theaters, they had barber shops as well open. Supermarkets have always been open, but each supermarket has its own different way of having people come in or not. Some people, like 10, maybe like 3 people at a time or something. Or a lot of people, many people can come in, but they need to wear masks. Some people might not have to wear masks, but keep a distance away. Every business has its own way of doing things. And yeah, so that, and I've been mostly staying at home. If I have to go out, I do. Sometimes I'm obliged to wear the gloves and masks, but either for my parents' sake. But so yeah, we continue opening businesses here in Texas. Gyms might open on Monday. It seems very likely that they will. People have been receiving checks in the mail. People have been $1,200 at least. People, up there in DC, they've been releasing, they're trying to get bills passed that help people, but at the same time, say lobbyists are behind it. Again, I'm not going to get too political, but basically a lot of debating is going on in DC. Our governor has been writing like executive orders, and that has again exposed the two sides to this big story we're having. And yeah, I've I live in Houston. I've been through the floodings. I've been through the Hurricane Harvey. I've been through the people losing their jobs in the oil industry. I've seen the building of the community around me, Katy, Texas, Ranch. But this is something I've never seen before, and I don't tend to use these words, but really, I can never compare this to another um, situation in my life where this has happened. Obviously, other situations like Spanish flu, the World Wars. I don't know about nuclear threats during the Cold War, but I wasn't alive for any of those. So, and I'm 28 years old, and it was creepy at first, but you get used to it. I don't know when this will end or when thing like business will be up 100% again. They're doing it little by little now in Europe, here, China itself. But I heard there was a resurgence of the COVID-19, so I'm not sure what's going on now. But there's uneasy people who think that this is the right thing to do. People who think has been blown way out of proportion. Some people think governors are writing executive orders without their legislatures having a say in it. That's the case in this state anyway. And, next will be bars and gyms that will be opening. Like I already said, they're still closed as of now, but it's very likely they're going to reopen with people being separated from each other and having a 25% capacity, which means they're not going to fill everything up, of course. So who knows how this will end. People have been you sort of get used to people wearing masks, where you would only see this stuff like in South Korea or Japan, but now you see it all here as well, and gloves, and it's a crazy situation, but you just have to ride through it for now. Like I said, if you're dedicated to one of the sides I've just mentioned, don't think that I'm neutral. I'm just trying to be I'm trying to be neutral in this video at least, but maybe in the next videos I'll talk about the political implications. But I didn't want to get political at all in this first video. Just explaining this COVID-19 coronavirus crisis and how long we've had to be penned up here at home, and what we can or cannot do when we go outside. And I think I'll just end it here, but that's what I've had to say. And like I said, I don't know how long this will continue for. I don't know what will continue into the summer or into the fall or autumn or even to the end of the year. We do have an election in November, a national election, but I'm not going to get too much into that because that's like months away, but it's shorter than people think. And well, who knows how we'll get back to normal, if we do, when this virus and the cases finally do go down significantly. Thank you for listening, and good night.